This automated bot thinks that like I'm four fucking atoms because I made this post. So it's like calling me a Zoran tanky fan club, even though I'm like my implication here is that the tankies will be correct about Zoran, as in he won't bring any sort of like beneficial changes, and in fact, even like the stuff he's promised will not only not be able to be fulfilled, but the stuff that he does promise and the program he has, GMO, thank you, doesn't actually address even poverty in New York City, right? And then our thing, of course, is that like socialists and communists don't rally behind like, oh, let's support this social democratic candidate because he is passing these things that we personally think would be very good for, workers in this or teachers in New York City or whatever it is, right? Like that's not how it works. Like, and when Lenin is talking about a revolutionary party supporting reforms in certain instances, he's talking about those revolutionary parties themselves participating in the reforms, not individuals rallying behind a social democrat politician, right? He's talking about like and sometimes you will have like the socialist party, the communist party, and the liberals aligning to a certain degree. Like they might be like, "Oh, we want to raise the minimum wage for work for, teachers or for people in New York," right? And then the Communist Party response to that might be, "Yeah, we want that, but we want that in addition to wage increase for everybody wherever, regardless of whether they're in the US or not, if they work for this company. We want price controls and we want food supplied to the poorest people in the US. Things like this they would pair with it. Actual rent control, That's the type of reforms that Lenin is talking about. He's not talking about like if a social democrat candidate comes along, you put aside your organizing within whatever communist party you're in, PSL, whoever, FRSO, and instead run a campaign for Zoran or Bernie Sanders or AOC. It makes no sense. The thing that the benefit for us of Zoran, the thing that we can benefit from as communist organizers from Zoran, is knowing exactly the fact of either his limitations because he won't be able to go far enough or won't be able to get what he wants done because the establishment will block him, or B, because he's just a liberal that's all about dead end reformism to begin with, right? Either way, it doesn't matter because that's the function that social democracy cannot help but fulfill. It very much does not matter so much about like the individual leader of the social democrats at any given time or what the individual people want, right? But it boils down to basically just like that it exists to fulfill a function of being the brake on revolutionary enthusiasm, the brake on the demand for revolutionary change, and to bring it into an endless dead end of reformism that then can be turned around, rolled back through austerity measures, in as little as another administration. Even less than that. The same administration can start the rollbacks instantly, Oh yeah, I gotta change my Juche's Day label. I think the main benefit of the Zoran campaign for us is to see the reason tactics of capital against him. Although most of it we can predict, but can see it in action. Yeah, that's a good thing for us to examine. Hash, welcome in. But I think the main thing is that we know that he's gonna fuck up. We know the problem, and what that's gonna be is a whole bunch of people then who are gonna be like dissatisfied with that in the way they were with Bernie. And if you remember with Bernie and other ones like that, like it did present us a time to be able to sweep a bunch of previous people who were, still lost in liberalism or still had liberalist misgivings or whatever you want to say, It allowed us to pull them even further away, when Bernie Sanders proved himself to be unreliable or unable to do anything or a fucking straight up Zionist, right? Like, it allowed us at each step to pull more people away by going, look, this person, this social democrat, is only for you in rhetoric, right? They're using the labor, communist, socialist sounding rhetoric in order to basically bring you into a dead end reformism. Like, that's what they're trying to do. And when they do that, when they demonstrate themselves doing that, that's our best moment to be like, look, this is what we've been saying. This is the proof of it. Maybe now you should organize with the PSL. Maybe now you should organize with FRSO. Maybe now join your Communist Party type of thing. Like, it allows us to show what we've been saying, what we know will happen, in practice. It gives us that, you need the theory with the practice. Well, that gives the masses that practice. And each time it happens, that's why the tankies, the communists, the Marxist-Leninists, whatever you want to call it, that's why we cannot ever give up on critiquing social democracy, right? We can never just be like, oh, just let the New Yorkers enjoy Zoran, right? You can't do that, because then you're not doing your job. You're not uplifting people's consciousness, right? You're failing. You're ignoring that duty of uplifting people's consciousness because they're hopeful about Zoran and you're shitting on their parade. That's nonsense, right? That's nonsense. And me being critical of Zoran is not me being doomerist. And it's not me trying to make other people feel doomerist. It's like the opposite for me. Understanding that the power isn't with whether Zoran fulfills his promises or not. It's with us. And whether we organize or not. That's more inspiring to me than waiting to see if Zoran's gonna fulfill his policies within the fucking halls of bourgeois democracy. That's not that to me, that's not that inspiring. Anyway, and I think once people understand the truth, the class reality, then they too will feel that, right? Plus, they demonstrated they wouldn't even let Bernie win, even though his foreign policy is garbage. Exactly. And that's the thing I say with Zoran too, right? Like, it doesn't matter whether the establishment stops him and he's really intending to do good things. That allows us to show the hypocrisy of imperialism right there, right? And then at the same time, if he is just a social democrat and he's really just like a grifting all of this, same deal, right? So either way, because social democracy can't help but fulfill that function for various reasons, either way, it allows us to highlight the inability of social democracy to get us out of this mess, or even improve. This is the thing, it doesn't improve people's revolutionary consciousness either, right? Like, the little gains that social democracy brings doesn't actually provide material benefits to the working people, to the vast majority of the poorest people in New York even, right? Across the US, but even in New York, it doesn't even address the poorest people in fucking New York. And we're supposed to act like this is some sort of material benefit when it could be rolled back in as little as 5 years. Come on. That's not what a material benefit is, right? A material benefit isn't some sham promise, some little crumb of something for a little segment of the working class that can be rolled back in a few years. That's not it. That's not going to do it. And in fact, what it does do is the whole purpose of it is to help strengthen the labor aristocrats who are then going to disrupt the revolution. And you can already see them doing that, right? That's the whole purpose. You give a little bit of crumbs to this segment of working people. And sure, they might need more, sure, right? They're in debt, all those things, not going to deny any of that. But there's native people and far off worse people. And what you do is you give a little bit of crumbs to some segment, and that becomes your little reserve army that you can then turn around and set against labor fucking organizing. And this is done time and time again, right? Like unions have done this time and time again, and unions have gutted themselves of communists and actual militant labor organizers for this reason, because some people are given a little bit of crumbs and then they set them against them. And just because they do it at a different scale than maybe they did in 1910s, for some reason our friends on the left cannot understand that, right? They think, well, we got to support this social democrat in this instance. It's not it's not a revolutionary program. If that's what you want, fine, but you're a liberal, right? You're not a communist. That's cool. just just don't just don't tell me you're a Marxist-Leninist. I got to vent. I was watching a friend on the left yesterday. Sorry, I went off on a big ol' rant because it's been